All right, welcome to Crisis in Perception. This is where we try to make sense of the systems that shape our world, one book at a time. And today we're diving into A Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century. The whole idea behind it, it's that our modern world, it's creating this really profound, maybe even dangerous mismatch with our ancient biology.
So the book kicks off with this incredible story. The authors, they're in Costa Rica, right? And they're about to jump into a river they've been swimming in for a month. A local guy comes up and warns them, today there was rain in the mountains. And, they almost just brush it off. But something makes them look closer, and they see it. The river is starting to swell with a flash flood coming from miles away. And that moment, it just perfectly captures the whole point of the book. We've mistaken our casual surface-level experiences for real wisdom. We think we know the river, but we're totally blind to the deeper patterns that are actually in control.
And that story leads us right to the core tension of this whole thing. Look, we're walking around with ancient hardware, right? Our bodies, our brains, they were forged over millions of years of evolution. But the software, the world we live in, is updating at a mind-bending pace. It's changing way faster than our biology can ever hope to keep up. And that's the fundamental conflict we're going to unpack.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this conflict, let's use a metaphor. And we're going to stick with this one for our whole analysis. I want you to think of our biology, our entire evolutionary inheritance, as a finely tuned instrument.
And this isn't just some poetic idea, right? I mean, our metabolism, our social instincts, our stress responses, literally every part of us was carefully calibrated by millions of years of natural selection. And this instrument, it wasn't designed to play just any kind of music. No, it was built for a very specific environment, the one that shaped us for pretty much all of human history.
So what was that environment like? What kind of music was our instrument built to play? Well, think small, stable communities. Think constant physical movement. Change was slow. It was gradual, happening over generations, not overnight. And that pace, it allowed for this deep, intuitive understanding of your local world. It's the kind of knowledge that literally saves you from a flash flood.
But of course, we don't live in that world anymore, not even close. We've taken that ancient, finely tuned instrument and we've thrown it into a completely new orchestra. And this orchestra, it's playing at a frantic, digital, and just wildly unpredictable tempo.
The authors actually have a name for this. They call it hyper-novelty. And this is a really critical point. The problem isn't just that things are new. I mean, humans are incredibly adaptable. We're great with new stuff. The real problem is the rate of change, the sheer speed of it. We are literally generating newness faster than our biology and our culture can adapt, and it's leaving us feeling constantly out of sync.
So, who's the conductor of this crazy new orchestra? Well, it's not some cartoon villain twirling a mustache. It's a set of powerful structural incentives. You've got markets that are just built to reward speed and endless consumption. You've got technology platforms in a literal arms race to capture our attention. And even our best institutions, science, education, they often reward breaking things down into tiny, measurable pieces, which sometimes makes us lose sight of the big picture. So, what happens? What happens when you force an ancient, finely tuned instrument to play this chaotic, modern music? Well, you get dissonance. You get a horrible sound. And in biology, there's a name for this. It's called an evolutionary mismatch.
Just think about that for a second. What does it actually feel like in your own life when your ancient programming is constantly at war with your modern world? What does that actually produce?
Well, it looks a lot like sickness, doesn't it? Physically, we're seeing epidemics of chronic diseases that our ancestors almost never got. Psychologically, it shows up as this pervasive anxiety, this inability to just focus. Socially, our communities feel like they're fraying at the edges. And environmentally, this frantic pace is putting our entire ecosystem at risk. And here's the key. These aren't separate problems. This is one single systemic problem just showing up in a bunch of different ways.
This quote from the book just nails it. It's not the change that's the core issue. It's the accelerating rate of that change. We're creating brand new problems faster than we can possibly come up with durable, time-tested solutions.
Okay, but here's where it gets really dangerous. The biggest problem might not even be the mismatch itself. It's the fact that we consistently fail to even see it. We are stuck in a crisis of perception.
And this right here, this illustrates the trap perfectly. On one side, you have the symptoms we're all trying to treat: anxiety, political division, burnout, failing health. We are experts at this. We throw tons of resources at them. But on the other side is the one system we keep missing: that deep, fundamental mismatch between our ancient biology, our instrument,
and the hyper-novel world we live in, the orchestra.
So how on earth do we keep missing this huge picture? Well, the book points to something it calls scientism. Now, that's not science. It's the imitation of science. It's this tendency to only focus on what's easy to count. You know, we count calories, we count social media clicks, we count test scores, and once we have a number, we just stop thinking. We mistake the measurement for the actual reality.
And this leads to what the authors call a sucker's folly. This is such a great concept. It's when a concentrated, short-term benefit, like the sugar rush from a processed snack or the dopamine hit from a social media like, is so powerful that it completely blinds us to the massive long-term risk. That little bit of immediate pleasure makes us totally forget about the long-term cost of the addiction.
Now, I know this can all sound pretty bleak, but the book isn't about doom and gloom. It's actually a map. Once you understand the system, you can start to navigate it. The goal is to stop being just an instrument that's being played by the orchestra, and instead to start becoming the conductor.
So how do we do that? The key is understanding two different human modes. First, there's culture. Think of this as our autopilot. It's the collection of all the time-tested solutions for the problems our ancestors faced. But here's the thing. When we face totally new, hyper-novel problems, autopilot just fails. And that's when we have to switch to consciousness, our manual override. This is our ability for deliberate, shared problem-solving, and the authors argue that this is our true human superpower, knowing exactly when to switch from autopilot to manual.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, think of it like putting on a corrective lens. Step 1 is just recognizing the mismatch in your own life. Really see it. From there, you can start to be a little more skeptical of all the new solutions and hacks for ancient problems. You can learn to protect your own internal reward system from all the ways the market tries to hijack it. And finally, you can start to think beyond just the simple numbers and rely more on experience and first principles.
Ultimately, the book frames our whole situation not as some kind of dead end, but as a challenge, a call for the next stage in our evolution. I mean, we've run out of new continents to explore. The next great frontier, it seems, is an internal one, a conscious, deliberate adaptation to the very world that we've created.
This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon.
For a deeper systems analysis, see the full deep dive linked in the description.
If you value long-form evidence-based thinking, consider subscribing for more.